Okay, good morning, everybody. This is John, and welcome to this Saturday. For the folks that were here last Saturday, welcome back, and for the people that are attending for the first time, welcome. Hope you enjoy. A little bit of housekeeping is next week is a real good one. They're all real good, but next week is a real good one, and it is going to be on accessorizing the kitchen, which is so important. It will be a 3 o'clock start. So you have to remember that because one of the things is my kitchen class that is ever so popular over the last 28 years is going, and we're going to have it virtually. So there's still time to sign up for that. That will be a 9 o'clock start. Everything that goes on in the kitchen we talk about, and it's a lot of fun. People that are taking this webinar may have taken the class. If you have, can you drop me a little text message and I can read it to people if you enjoyed it and what you got out of it. The other thing is I am going to do the flooring webinar. A date will be decided. And another one I was thinking about too, about sinks, about sinks in the kitchen and plumbing, all the different types of materials and styles and things like that. Any of you guys interested in that, let me know. And, we can add that to the list. Okay, today's going to be fun. Today we're going to talk about the kitchen layout, and it's going to be interesting. What I'm going to do is go through a PowerPoint for a little bit, and then we're going to jump in, and I'm going to show you a couple designs, and I may even want to, show you, start a preliminary design and go through the process and things like that. So ask away the questions, and if there's an easy answer up front, I will do that. Otherwise, I will, answer them at the end, or feel free to email me. You guys did a good job of giving me, positive feedback and things like that, and how much you enjoyed and things, and I really appreciate it. I'm having as much fun, hopefully, as you guys are. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, what we're going to do in this webinar, we're going to have to start the design process. It's interesting, in the last week, one more thing. You would think I'm just sitting here in my office and everything's at a standstill. I'm busier than ever, and it's terrific. I mean, I get so many people that are getting in touch with me and say, hey, since we hit this other side, can I hit the ground running with you? And things like that, and which is really interesting. So hopefully that these webinars are really going to keep the process going for you guys. And I still come to do my virtual work every day, and I'm having a ton of fun. Okay, so what we're going to do is in this webinar we're going to how to start the design process, gathering of the information, learning the triangle method, understanding mise en place, learning basic design guidelines, and then applying those guidelines into a design. What I'm going to use as an example, I just finished the kitchen. I don't know if we have any friends out there in Brecksville, but we have, I just finished a design process in Brecksville, and we're going to use that kitchen as our guideline. So if we have any Brecksville friends out there, it will be right on Miller Road. Okay, so let's get started. What we have here, we have basic styles of kitchens, and you're going to be one of these. You don't see many single wall kitchens. We don't even see as many galley kitchens today, because what people are doing, we're tending to open up the space. So if we have a small single wall or a galley, when I get into it, they're going to sometimes say, hey, John, can we open this wall up? Can we do this? Can we do that? And then you have the L-shaped kitchen. Do you notice that as we're going through all these little areas here that you see a triangle, and that's going to be important as it comes up, and you notice where that triangle is pointing. It's pointing to the 3 major work areas in the kitchen. And then we have the U-shaped kitchen, and the U-shaped kitchen is very popular. One of the ones that's missing here basically, well, it could be the U-shape with the peninsula, and you could see in that U-shape where that refrigerator is, a lot of people today have that where they have that peninsula, and they want to take that out, and they want to see if they can go with that L-shaped with the island. And that L shape, people are looking, you guys are looking in magazines and everything today, and you're saying, hey, I want that island, I want that island. And there's certain restrictions that you have to have and certain guidelines, and that's what we're gonna talk about today, whether that can be done, you know, and things like that. Because I mean, we can all put an island in, but the bottom line is if you can't open a refrigerator door or you can't open your oven, that's a problem. And so we want to make sure that all those guidelines are followed. Okay, so here is the triangle method. The triangle method is where you add three-dimensional lines between the major work areas. So we have our sink, we have our refrigerator, and we have our cooking. Now the cooking is defined not as the ovens, because we don't get into the ovens as much as we're standing at the burners and things like that. So basically that design is going to be, and that guideline is going to be where your burners are. So if you have a freestanding range or a slide in, then it will include the oven. And if you don't, then it's going to be the burners. This is a study that was done in there's one line missing there that was transferred over, but the thicker the line, the more somebody's going to walk between these zones. So between that sink and the range, that should be a thick line. When I transfer that over, that I see that line is missing there, but notice that the oven, where that oven is at the bottom, okay, and notice that the line is very thin. Again, we're not getting into those areas as much. So between the mixing, the sink, and the range are going to be where most of your work is going to be. Now, the other thing too is what we want to do is we want to start, before we start the design process, we want to start gathering all the information in a checklist. One of the things that I offer, believe me, all these webinars, nothing here is sales oriented, but this is something I just wanted to make sure you guys know is out there for you. And if anybody's in the class, that was in my class and got the book, if you can let me know if you've enjoyed it. But basically what this is a design guide. Everything that goes into a kitchen, it's a little booklet that I put together. You're gonna need to gather all the information before you can start the design process. And what does that mean? Everything from what appliances. Now, do we need to know the brand? No, but we need to know basically, do we want 2 ovens? Do we want 1 oven? Do we want to stack the ovens? Do we want 2 sinks? What do we want for accessories? You know, do we want that plate drawer? Do we want this? Do we want that? So when I start working with somebody, I have a whole long PowerPoint and we go through it and we check, it's a checklist and we check everything off. So that book then has it in front of you. So if anybody is with your cabin fever, I'll be even happy to drop it off to you. But just contact me and let me know. That'll get you started on that. And we also have a budget planner. If anybody wants to start dealing with the dollars, I also have that for you. So I have all the tools for you guys so you can get started with this process. Okay, mise en place. This is something to understand too. This is different than what we've been used to as designers over the last several years. One thing that's nice about it, there's one little tiny silver lining to this quarantine is I'm getting all caught up on my Anthony Bourdain shows. I'm a huge Anthony Bourdain fan. And when I read his books, all you talked about was mise en place. And that's a French term. And in the restaurant industry, that means everything has a place. So look at these 3 examples that I love, okay? The one on the left, you have a whole baking center. So that baking center is going to be, everything is going to be there for that. Look at the drawers. Look how wide that drawer is today. We can now go up to 48 inches wide in our drawers. You could have a whole drawer center where you can have all your pots and pans. You can have all your utensil stuff, your aluminum foil, everything could be gathered in one place. So you're not running around this kitchen. So we have to understand these areas. You know, would you want any of these areas before we start this design process? And then on the right is a command center. Very, very few of you folks are putting in desks today, but 80% of you come to me and say, can I have a command center? And when we get to this checklist with this person in Brecksville, I'm going to read through that checklist and we're going to tell you what was on their checklist in regards to a command center, because they put it in and they did a nice job of putting that command center in with the items. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the guidelines before then we jump into an actual design. we have the refrigerator. So that's going to be the first of our ones. The refrigerator, you want to make sure you have a minimum of 15 inches on one side, okay, of the counter space to be able to set things down. Now, the exception's the island. If we know that we're going to, one thing I'd like to do, if you've heard me talk at the shows and you've seen my work, is that I like to gather all the tall units together as much as I can, because by gathering these tall units, it makes the kitchen visually look smaller. And I can afford to do that as long as I have an island where I can turn and set something down, okay? So that is something that's important to understand as you go through this, where you might see and have an island there. The sink. Now, a lot of these sound elementary, but you know, I've been in so many kitchens, and I can show you a picture when we're done here of some bad examples of people putting kitchens in sinks in wrong spots and things like that, where it's totally non-effective. But you'll notice here that we have the sink, and then I have the dishwasher, plenty of counter space to the left. This person happened to want a compactor, and so we have plenty of space to the right. So I say 18. When I start my design, I ideally really like to have 24 inches on that. Cooking. You want to have, again, at least 15 inches to the left and to the right of that cooktop. By having that, you can be able to not only set things down, but let's take this into an island application. A lot of people want the cooking on the island, is that you don't want to have only 9 inches or so to one side and then have the handle sticking over. And as you have children or grandchildren or anybody running by and they hit a handle, and you have disaster on your hands. So you want to have plenty of counter space. And then the other thing too is that when we start designing these kitchens, I'm not designing for one anymore. One of the things that is a real blessing is my daughter wouldn't say it, but she's home from Ohio State right now. And I personally think she missed her calling, because she could become a chef. She's that good. But you know, we go home every night and we make a big meal, and we have everybody working in the kitchen at the same time. So it's a lot of fun. Okay, here's a big one, and we'll talk about this when we're designing our kitchen in a little bit, but the island. Most of you folks come to me and say, can I have that island? You want to make sure that you have a minimum of 36 inches all the way around the space. So you notice here on this design, I have 38, 40, and 41. So I'm a little bit on the tighter side here. We got it to work, but I like to start at around 42 inches, going all the way around. So that's basically, as we go through and I show you, I'm going to start with the 42. Now, I can go down to 36 with you. It won't be the worst thing in the world, but it has to be in a strategic area. We don't want to put 36 inches of walk space when those stools or something are there, you know? Okay, so let's now get into a design. I am going to wing this. I've never done this before. You guys are going now into my command center. Okay, so let's pull a job up and let's have some fun designing. Okay, so here's my command center, and I've already done some dimensioning and things like that, but basically you end up with empty space. Let me show you the kitchen that we're going to be working with. Let me show you some of the, pull it up here for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the photos of this kitchen so you get a feel of the space. Okay, so this is he's actually a contractor. He's done a nice job with part of the house, and you can see right down the middle of this picture. Off to the left is what they've done. Off to the right is Help Me, John. Okay, there's that little peninsula, isn't it? That's in a strange spot. You can see here he's done a beautiful, what they want to do with the kitchen too, by the way, one of their things is going to be bring the outdoors in. Look at, they've done a beautiful job with the fireplace, and so they're all set to go, except the kitchen's the last thing. Okay, typical 80s, You know, there's your soffits. They want to take those out. Okay. So this is space we're going to be working with. They want me to do is they want to get rid of the table because they have the dining area, and they're going to want an island. I'll read the wish list. Now the other thing I do is I take pictures of around the house because I'm very, very astute to the architecture. I want to carry things through. So I'm looking, while I'm walking into somebody's house, I'm looking at even the detail. I'm looking at this detail. I'm looking at the detail here. I'm looking at the detailing here, okay, as I go through, because you want to be able to carry the stuff through, okay? So that's what we're going to be working with. This was their fireplace over here, okay? This was their peninsula coming out here. Now, the one thing that we did structurally that you really didn't see there were they had two windows. They had a window here, they had a window here, and I said to them, and I watch your budgets very, very closely, but I said to them, can we have play on the windows? Because they have a beautiful backyard. And they said, yes. So what I did was instead of having two smaller windows, I said, can we just go with one larger window? Okay. So let me take a second before we start designing this to give you a feel of what the wish list was. They want a big refrigerator because they have a growing family, no compactor. They wanted a 36-inch freestanding range, one of those more pro style type of ranges with a wood hood above. They're debating between a microwave and a speed oven. So when we get to the appliance webinar, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about speed ovens and steam ovens. I think they're terrific. And if you want to get a jump start on them, you might want to Google. One of the things too that you guys should be doing is you should be going into YouTube. Take advantage of YouTube. So just don't go to and just Google speed oven. Go to YouTube and do a search for that, and you'll get all these manufacturers like Miele and GE and Bosch, and they'll come up and they'll actually have their chef on there cooking with them for you. Okay, they did not want an ice maker. They don't want a wine refrigerator, no beverage center, no warming drawer. They wanted a farmhouse sink, an apron front farmhouse sink. So we have to work with that. Tile backsplash. They want the cabinetry to the ceiling. They want an island with to be able to sit 3 to 4 people. Recycling trash, some glass, place for the TV, plate drawer, utensils, spice drawers, lazy Susans, vegetable bins, trays, place for cookie sheets. They want a pantry with rollouts. And then here's their command center that I was talking about. They want to be able to have a place to put pens, hang their keys, a dry erase, a charging area, and a place to put the cookbooks. So I spent time with them and gathered all this. Okay, so let's start designing. So the first thing we have to talk about is with the people and you. Let's say you're going to go with an island or you're going to do something. Where do you want the stuff? So having a beautiful backyard, they wanted to put the sink looking out the window. And then they wanted to have an island. So the first thing that I do when I design is I draw the perimeters for the cabinetry. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cabinetry is 24 inches deep. Okay, so that's that. The next thing we want to do is they wanted an island. So what I want to do is I want to create a walk space. I know I'm going to be okay down here. This is where that first picture we saw. So we have this area, this door here, or actually this is the entranceway into the dining room. And then we have this hallway. So I'm going to be okay here. Where my concern is, and I know I'm going to be okay here, where my concern is over here where I have cabinetry, I want to watch this space because this is going to be a major traffic flow. So I'm going to want to watch that space. So now what I'm going to do is I also know I need to have wall cabinets. Wall cabinets are, just so you guys know, are either going to be 12 or 13 inches deep. Most manufacturers today are going to go 13, especially, remember last week we talked about framed and frameless cabinetry. If you're going to go with a framed cabinetry that's inset, you really want to have it 13 deep because that door is going into that 13 inches. If you have frameless, could be 12 or 13, but most people today, most manufacturers are going to be 13. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to offset 13 inches. Okay, so now what I've just done is I've just laid a guideline all the way around for my base cabinet. Look at you could see now by utilizing this wall, they have a lot of nice counter space that we're going to be playing with. Okay, they decided that they wanted frameless cabinetry. So what I have to do in my frameless cabinetry is I have to add another 3/4 of an inch to my space. Okay, so let me offset 0.75 to make you guys all want to be kitchen designers. Okay, you can see why I have so much fun even after 30 years getting up every morning and doing this. Okay, so here's what we have. There's our countertop. Now I have to decide where I want to put things, and then I want to decide on the island. They decided that they did not want anything on the island. So I'm going to be okay as far as space goes, with traffic flow and the cooktop and things like that. And they've already told me the size of the island that they wanted because he's done some homework and laying it out at his house. So, but I'm going to start out by saying, I'm going to offset. I want a 42-inch. This is how I always start. I want a 42-inch space in between. So do you see now what's happening? They have 42 inches all the way around. And I just want to make sure, dimension-wise, how I am. 44 inches walk space through there. Okay. And then I start playing with this. I say, you know what? Okay, that's 42. If I'm a little tight, or can I stretch it? Can I do this? Can I do that? Knowing that the cooking's here, I may want to open this up a little bit more, but then the only thing is I have to be careful here. One of the things, okay, for you guys to really, really understand is when you're going with an island, this is really, really important. I don't know how many of you people are going to be opening up walls or going to want an island, but if you do, you want to know your countertop before you design your kitchen, or at least order the cabinets. Now, why do I say that? You guys would shoot me if all of a sudden I came with a nice large island, you're totally ecstatic, we order the cabinets, the countertop people come and they say, hey guys, guess what? We have to put a seam down the middle of your island. You guys would shoot me. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we know the width and the length of the workable size of the slab. Now, with more and more people going quartz, we know that answer up front. Okay, some of the manufacturers are going to be a little different. In fact, some of the manufacturers like Cambria and places like that, they even have jumbo slabs, which are bigger. So that's not going to be a factor in this design, but it's a factor of a lot of designs that I work with that we want to make sure that we work within that space. Okay, so let's draw in. I put my little guidelines. I put a little cheat sheet here of the size of the island that the person wanted. So let me just draw that in. Okay. Okay, so there it is. There's going to be the island. Let's dimension it so that we know that we're all well and good. Okay. So right now I have 41 inches, 43. And then when I design this, I'm going to double check my dimensions there. Okay, so now what are we going to be working with? There's our island, there's all our counter space. Let's create a triangle. So we know that basically they want the sink centered on the window. And I'm going to show you the cheat. Let me go ahead and I'm going to cheat a little bit so you guys get a feel here. I've already done all my homework. There's the kitchen done, okay? And I'm going to come back and design it, but just to give you a feel. So there's the window. Now, one of the things about the window is that I really try to avoid if you're putting a new window in, or even I just had a kitchen where there was a center, they're called double casements or whatever, where this point right here was right smack in front of the window. Now, there's a window out there that I absolutely love. And if you ever wanted to replace the window, you might want to investigate this. It's called an awning window. And basically what an awning window is, it's a casement where it cranks out, but it cranks out from the bottom out so that it looks basically like a picture window and you won't see any crossbars. So this person here, look at, they have that beautiful picture window and that's fixed glass. And then what we did was we have these opening so to get their air. Okay, so that's what we did there. And then over here, there's the freestanding range. Okay, so let's go through. Actually, you know what, even besides doing it, I'll just walk through the plan and give you a feel of the guidelines as we went. Okay, so here's what we did. One of the things that I like to do in designing is, unless, the one thing I didn't talk about is the style that you want. And that's important. That was basically when we were gathering the information. These people wanted a more of a transitional type of look. But if this is a modern kitchen, I'm not going to be bumping out sinks. I'm not going to be doing a lot of breaking up lines to create as much interest as I would with the more traditional. But do you remember going back on the pictures? Okay. Let's see here, where that picture is. See that? Remember that? Okay. Now look. See? All I did was bump out, frame the window. See? There's my window. I bumped out with 2 little columns and created this whole area to be more of an independent looking space. Okay, instead of just having that Susie homemaker, you know, cutter, just cookie cutter kitchen, I created a little bit of detail to it. So that was what I did there. So if you look here, you notice bump out, and then my sink is centered. That's my red line. They wanted a 32-inch, 36-inch farmhouse sink, apron front. And one of the things, again, these are the things that you're going to need to help and tell people, or if you're do-it-yourself or figure out, is do you want the dishwasher on the left and the right? Now, I think one of the nicest compliments I ever got, somebody came at my class first day and said, you know, so-and-so recommended you, and you coach their daughters in softball. And John, what they were most appreciative of with you is that when you were coaching in the 3rd inning, you were always thinking about the 6th. And I'll never forget that compliment. And how does that relate to what I do here is because I'm always thinking ahead. So you put the dishwasher on the left, you put it on the right. I have back in my mind, hey, guess what? They wanted that plate drawer. And I'm thinking now, because the dishwasher on the left, I have to think ahead. Am I going to have a spot for that plate drawer? And, you know, so that's over here. I put the plate drawer in a drawer for them, a nice drawer. So this is going to become an area where this is going to be stuff coming out of the dishwasher is going to be coming over here. So what I allowed for, 24 inches. The other thing I did too is take a look at this. Okay, I did not just throw an apron front sink in. I went and actually put it on a little ledge, little wood ledge with a couple of little mini columns. These are the little details, just the little details. Doesn't cost the money, but it adds such a nice touch to the kitchen. So I'm thinking aesthetics as I'm doing function, okay? So let's go back to the plan. So there's my sink, there's my dishwasher. Now what else is important around the sink? Okay, what is important to us? The recycling trash. You don't want to move across a room to get to the recycling trash. So you open it up, there's my trash can. So that right there is going to say, okay, I now have a great foundation to my kitchen with my sink. Totally functional. You added the elements. One thing about the designs that I like to do is I like to, in my mind, create hotspots. Now, that's probably not the right word to use today, but create focal points. And the sink area has just become my first focal point. And as I go through this, I can tell you right now how many focal points I'm going to have. I'm going to have one with the sink. I'm going to create another beautiful focal point over here with the stove, because people looking through here, beautiful. People coming in through here, beautiful. So there's two focal points. My third, have the island look great. We're going to make that island look really nice. And then my fourth, which you will see in a moment, is going to be this area right here. Okay, so I've created 4 nice focal points for them. Okay, so the second thing I want to do is go over to my cooking area. Now, they wanted a 36-inch freestanding range. One thing that you guys got to do, and we'll talk about it with the appliances, is that we have to be concerned with, if we're going to go with these bigger stoves, and they take a lot of what's called BTUs, how much heat they produce. There's a lot of cities out there right now where we're having issues, and good issues, but they want to have makeup air systems put in, because if I'm going to make a stove that's going to create a lot of heat, I have to have a hood that is strong enough, okay, to be able to suck all this air out and get it out of there. Now, by sucking the air out, the problem I run into is I'm sucking the air out of the house. And a lot of these newer homes, you know, they're airtight. So there's something called a makeup air system. So that's something so you don't get blindsided. Okay, I assume you guys are going to get permits and things like that when you do this work. If you're going with something over a hood, over 400 CFMs, you may have to consider having a makeup air system put into your HVAC system. Okay, so again, thinking ahead, we just want to make sure. Okay, so there's the range. Now, how did I find this spot here for the range? Because what I like to do is to create that focal point. Again, you get to know me, you're gonna know I'm a little bit particular. Okay, do you think these doors equal these doors? You bet. Okay, see how symmetrical everything looks? So I wanted to make sure that I was able to have my hood, okay, and have my 4. So I'm not finding the center point of the cooking first. I'm finding the center point of my hood, and then making sure that those are equal sizes. Now, does that mean they need to be custom? No. But remember last week we talked on 3-inch increments. You measure those, are probably 3-inch increments. But so that is, okay, what I do there. Then once I have that done, I locate my range. And the other thing I want to know is my client left-handed or right-handed? Because look what I put on the right, because they're right-handed. I put the 4-drawer stack, because that's where all the utensils, that's where everything is going to be, that they're going to be that mise en place. Grab it, grab it, grab it. They're not going to be going to all the different drawers. So then we put that there. And then all of a sudden, if you remember, way back, we talked about their wish list. They wanted a vegetable bin. So I strategically off to the far right, put a place, you open it up, there's a plastic unit that pulls out and has their potatoes, their onions, everything right there for them. Okay. Now, thinking ahead, John, all well and good, but have you given a lot of thought, any thought, to the pots and pans? Well, you bet I have. Let's go back. Okay. They're cooking right here. Now, she could turn, or he could turn, get into the island. Or what about just turning to the left? What does that say? A 2-drawer stack. Now, one of the things that you want to do, look what I did. And you know, when I presented that, you know what I called that? That's your best cabinet in your kitchen. Because now all your pots and pans can go right there. Remember we talked last week about stock versus custom? Okay, if this is a custom kitchen, you know what's happening here? We're going to measure their largest pot. and we're going to make sure that it fits. I have it drawn right now as equal size, but it doesn't have to be. This could be non-equal size if we were in the custom direction. Okay, so that's where the pots and pans are going to be. Can everybody hear? Can somebody send me? Greg said he lost the video and the voice. Can somebody send me a text or send me a thing and say they can hear me? And Greg, can you hear me now? I'm going to keep going, and then you guys until I hear from somebody saying, "Hey, okay, keep going" or whatever. Okay, so that would be the cooking there. Okay, we now have our floor plan where we have the drawers, we have our Lazy Susan, we have our utensils, and a drawer for deeper drawers there. Okay, thank you, Brandon. Okay, and we also have, Brandon just said we can hear you. And there's my vegetable bin. You guys enjoying this? It's different, I've never done this before. Okay, so now we have one more thing in the cooking area. They at the last minute sent me an email, okay? And you know what? I personally am a huge proponent of the speed oven. They decided at the last minute not to do the speed oven, just to do a pull-out microwave. Now, we have two choices with the microwave. We want to keep it in this general area, okay? But what happens is we want to go and I put the pull-out microwave in the island. So they have, again, right here, everything is within range. Do you notice where I put it? I didn't put it here. Why not? I don't want somebody at the sink and then somebody trying to get to the space. So what I did here, I put the cookie sheets. Remember they wanted the cookie sheets? So I put the cookie sheets here. I put the microwave here. So now when she needs to get a cookie sheet, I'm not taking away from the space. I'm not going over here. I'm keeping that large. I went and put it here. So let me show you the elevations of that. There you go, right there. Oh, look at, there's those columns again. I tied that through, okay? One thing also why we're here, when you start looking at pictures, not for the more modern, but when you start looking at the pictures and everything, and this is where the budget comes in. You have the choice of having, see underneath the island, now there's gonna be chairs here, but do you just put plain paneling or do you still dress it up with maybe some raised panels or things like that? I drew it to give them an idea, carrying that detail through, what the sides of my island will look like, okay? And then also what the sides and the back look like, okay? So that takes care of that. So we're good there. So now the last two more areas on the sink wall that I want to just talk about for a moment. We're going to go over to the refrigerator. Okay, look at this. They wanted a place for the TV. Now, one thing I noticed here, I had a lot of room. I can afford to have, so they're not looking up at the TV and I'm not losing a lot of wall cabinetry. I built the TV into a cabinet right here. So there'll be your box, or that could be a drawer. If you don't need the box, that could be for the remote, it could be a little junk drawer. And then I put the TV. Now what I did with the TV, and you don't need to spend a lot of money on this, but I went and I have a TV with a frame around it. I put a false back inside and I measured the depth of my bracket and my TV, and that's how far my false back is. So that TV is actually flush with the cabinetry. And it can take, and let's say the husband or wife is doing dishes, you can take that out and swivel it. And then you can put it right back. So when you're at the island, another little detail where I have fun. Remember how I bumped the island out? Look what I did here. I bumped the TV cabinet forward just by an inch, but look what it did to the crown detail. Add a nice detail there, okay? Look what we have over here. Did two options for the client. They said, can I have some glass cabinets? So we took this area. They wanted an open place for a garage type of thing, and they didn't want a door on it because they say they use this stuff all the time, like the coffee system and all that. But on top, we went and put 4 glass doors. just on the top. My favorite story with glass, I'll remember this until I'm done in the design industry, but I'll always remember this. I had out in Avon Lake, their name was the Hards. They had 4 children. And when the kitchen was done, she took them to a pottery class. And they each did a beautiful piece of pottery. And the mother has it now. The kids are probably in college now. What a great opportunity. Every day, get up and see, reminder of your 4 children, and have the glass up there. And I put little lights in there and things like that. Okay, and the other option was, John, you've given us so much counter space. Why not maximize and take the cabinets down to the counter? So that's the other option that they're working with. And you notice I don't take the doors down to the counter. That's suicide. Why not? Every time you have to open that door, you got to move something maybe away. So what I've done is I always put drawers at the bottom. So when you open this up, bam, okay? Okay, so that takes care of that area. And then we come over to the refrigeration. This is where we have the pantry with the rollouts. Now, a lot of times with a pantry, where I just finished another beautiful kitchen earlier this week with the design, and they said, you know, John, I need a place to put my brooms, though. We can go and put a partition right here and put your brooms in. And then on the other side, you would have your rollouts. And there's a lot of different, you're going to see next week, there's a lot of different things we can do for accessorizing in a pantry. We can do pull-out systems, rollouts, chef's pantries, whatever. But one thing you may want to do in a pantry, put an outlet, especially if you're going to put that partition maybe with the broom area, because by putting that outlet in there, you can go and put a dustbuster and things like that. So there's a lot of nice things you can do. The other thing too, I'll give a little hint away from next week about an accessory that's really hot right now. They have these little portable vacuum systems where you can just sweep right over in front of the toe kick there, and then it sucks it in. You turn a little button, you know, touch it, and it sucks it in, and then you put all your gatherings into this little system and then clean it out periodically. So now you're brooming. What a great idea. Now you're brooming and you don't have to run for that dustpan every single time. You just go right to that one area, bam. So you can very easy to do. So next week you'll see that. Okay, so then what do I do and where do I put the command center? Well, you're walking in, why not right here? So what we did, command center, there's a door, and anybody want to guess what's on that door front? Dry erase. So now they can have notes for the kids. Went shopping, be back in an hour, or soccer tonight till 7, save me dinner, right on the dry erase, right on that center panel. You open it up, there's the inside, there's a calendar system. Remember she wanted a little place for pens and things like that? Now this is only 13 inches deep. So what happened was it's not going to be a deep drawer, you know, front to back, but it's going to be enough to put pens, stamps, TV remote, whatever. There is my docking station for my phones. Now, one of the things that I did here, there was no sense to cover this because it's always going to be open and, you know, to look for keys or the phone or things like that. So now all of a sudden you can go and just have your docking station right here. And then here's my keys. Okay. And then behind there are the cookbooks, other type of storage and things like that. Okay. So that's pretty much let's review now the guidelines. Okay. Let's see how we did. Remember we talked about we want to have, okay, plenty of space around there. Our guideline was 42 inches and we can tweak it. We want to have at least 15 to 18 and 24 inches to the cooking. The sink. Look at all that. I've got 4 or 5 feet there on all the areas. How did we do over here? Okay, got plenty of counter space. Now, where as a designer do I see a couple, not big red flags, but this is something as a designer that I do. If I don't believe something and it can work, I'll do it. If it's not going to work, I'm not going to do it. Okay, but as we look at this, they say, John, if you critiqued yourself, what would be one thing that you would look at? Okay, and there's not many, but the one thing would be, okay, no counter space, so they have to come right over for the refrigerator. It's only 2 steps, but they have to come right here. Okay, but they wanted the command center. The second thing is, and it's minimal, but this person's seating right here with this stove. But they wanted to have seating on 4 sides. Now, the odds of somebody seating there all the time are probably minimal, but that would be my only, and that's really, I'm splitting hairs here, but that would be my only thing. And that's why I wanted to make sure here, though, I have at least the 43 inches. Okay. Okay, any questions on anything on the design end of it? Hopefully that this was good for you guys. And if anybody has any questions, again, you can email me. Now you know how I spend my days, how I love what I do. Next week, again, we are going to talk about the what we're going to put in these cabinets. You know, we talked about plate drawers, we talked about utensils. We're going to spend time because that's so important. And then if you want to take the class, that starts at 9. I know I have a couple people on here that took the class and they're still taking the webinar, so thank you very much. Okay, that brings an end to it. So again, email me with any further thoughts, questions. Did I do okay again today? Was this a good topic? Are there any other topics? Does anybody want to have one about sinks? You know, hey, I'll keep going. I like it. So just let me know. Okay, thank you. Enjoy the day. I'm looking out here in the Chagrin Valley, and it is a beautiful day. I'll spend the day outside today after I get done with my work. So thank you. Bye-bye.